The invitation arrived in a sleek, silver envelope, a stark contrast to the small, cozy life Clara had built. It was for the 10-year reunion of their all-girls high school, held at an exclusive villa nestled in the hills. A decade had passed since she had last seen her classmates, a cohort of privileged, ambitious young women who had always seemed destined for more. Clara, with her quiet disposition and modest dreams, had always felt like an outsider looking in. She almost decided to decline the invitation, but a quiet voice inside her, craving closure, and maybe a hint of validation, convinced her to attend. She spent the week before the event in a mild panic, rummaging through her closet for something appropriate. Her husband, Daniel, a gentle and kind man who worked in real estate, found her stressed one evening. "Clara," he said, holding her hands, "you're beautiful, no matter what you wear. And besides, isn't this about reconnecting with old friends?" Clara smiled, but the anxiety lingered. Her high school, St. Jude's Academy, had been a breeding ground for social hierarchies, and she had always occupied the lower rung. She remembered the whispered conversations about family trips to Paris, summer houses in the Hamptons, and designer bags she couldn't even name. She had lived a simple life, a good life, but one that she feared would be seen as unremarkable by her former peers. The night of the reunion, she arrived at a towering iron gate. A guard checked her name off a list and waved her through. The villa, a sprawling modernist structure of glass and concrete, was breathtaking. It sat on a manicured lawn that sloped down to an infinity pool, its lights twinkling like fallen stars. Inside, the air was filled with the familiar, high-pitched chatter of her classmates, now all poised and polished adults. The first person she saw was Vanessa, the unofficial queen bee of their class. Vanessa, with her sharp wit and even sharper tongue, was wearing a dress that looked as if it cost more than Clara's car. "Clara," she exclaimed, her voice dripping with mock surprise. "Look at you, you haven't changed a bit." Clara knew it was not a compliment. She smiled politely. "It's good to see you, Vanessa." "You too, darling. So, what have you been up to? Still in that little town, wasn't it?" Vanessa's question hung in the air, a thinly veiled jab at Clara's humble beginnings. "Yes," Clara said, her voice steady. "My husband and I are very happy there." Vanessa's eyes darted to Clara's simple, elegant dress. "And what about your husband? What does he do?" "He's in real estate," Clara said. "He's very good at it." A laugh escaped from Vanessa. "Real estate, oh, that's nice. My husband is an investment banker. He just bought me a new Birkin for my birthday." She gestured to a leather handbag on a nearby chair. The evening continued in a similar vein. Conversations were not about shared memories, but about comparing achievements and flaunting wealth. The villa itself became a silent, omnipresent judge. Her classmates openly admired the marble floors, the custom art, and the panoramic views, making subtle comments about the kind of person who must own such a magnificent place. "The owner is apparently some reclusive millionaire," one of her classmates, Chloe, whispered to another. "I heard he's a genius in his field." "I bet he's gorgeous," another chimed in. Their words were like tiny daggers, each one a reminder of her perceived inadequacy. Clara tried to engage, to ask about their lives and families, but her questions were met with condescending nods and quick changes of subject. They were not interested in her life. They were only interested in the gilded cage they had built for themselves. The final insult came after a few hours. A group of her old classmates had gathered around a lavishly decorated table, sipping champagne. Clara walked over, hoping to join the conversation. As she approached, Vanessa saw her and her smile vanished. "Oh, look who it is," Vanessa said, her voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "The poor little church mouse. Did you honestly think you belong here, Clara?" Clara's cheeks burned. "I was invited, just like everyone else." "But not in the same way, were you?" Vanessa sneered. "We're here because we've made it. Our husbands are successful. Our lives are glamorous. Your real estate husband probably couldn't even afford to rent a room in this place for a night." The others laughed, a cruel, mocking sound that echoed in the vast, elegant room. Humiliation washed over Clara, stinging more than she could have imagined. Her eyes welled up with tears she desperately tried to hold back. "You know what?" Vanessa continued, standing up and pointing a finger at her. "You're ruining the mood. Why don't you do us all a favor and leave?" A few of the other women chimed in, their faces tight with disdain. "Yeah, go home, Clara. You're a buzzkill. We're tired of hearing about your boring life." With a trembling hand, Clara grabbed her small purse. She turned and ran, the tears finally flowing freely down her face. She burst through the massive front door, not caring about the sudden downpour of rain that had started. The storm was a fitting backdrop for her broken heart. She stumbled onto the wet gravel driveway, her shoulders shaking with sobs. She felt a burning ache in her chest, a physical manifestation of the insult. She had forgotten her heart medication. She had left it on her nightstand in her hurry, and now the stress was taking its toll. Just as she was about to call a cab, a car pulled up behind her. The headlights blinded her for a moment, and then a man's figure stepped out, holding an umbrella. It was Daniel, her husband. He saw her, soaked and crying, and his kind face hardened with a furious intensity she had never seen before. He rushed to her side, wrapping his arms around her. "Clara, my love, what happened? I came to bring you your medication. You forgot it." He pulled a small bottle from his pocket. The villa's front door opened, and Vanessa and a few of the other women stepped out, curious about the car. They saw Clara and Daniel huddled together. "Oh, look who it is," Vanessa said again, a snide smile on her face. "Clara's ride is here. Tell him not to get any mud on the driveway. It's a rental, I'm sure." Daniel turned, his gaze like steel. He looked at Vanessa, then at the other women, his eyes sweeping over their judgmental faces. You did this to her," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "You made my wife cry." Vanessa scoffed. "She's just too sensitive. She doesn't belong here. This isn't her world." Daniel took a step forward, his jaw clenched. "You're right, Vanessa. This isn't her world. This is my world." A stunned silence fell over the group. "You've been admiring this villa all night, haven't you?" Daniel continued, his voice now booming with authority. "Talking about the reclusive millionaire who owns it. Guess what? You're looking at him." The women's faces went from smug to utterly aghast. Vanessa's mouth hung open. "This villa, this entire property, is mine," Daniel stated, his voice now calm but razor sharp. "The art, the furniture, the infinity pool, you've been bragging about, it's all mine. And you had the audacity to humiliate my wife, the most wonderful and compassionate woman I have ever known, and kick her out into the rain." He looked at Vanessa with a cold fury. "Vanessa, you were my top client a few months ago. You came to me to get an estimate for your house. Remember?" Vanessa's face paled. She remembered a man with a friendly face and a humble demeanor. He was supposed to be a real estate agent. She had scoffed at his business card and dismissed him as a small-time player. "I gave you the best service," Daniel continued. "But I never told you that I had a wife named Clara who went to St. Jude's Academy. You talked so much about your school and all the wonderful things you had done, but you forgot the most important thing: humanity. You're a fake, Vanessa. All of you are." He looked at the others, his expression a mix of anger and disappointment. "You all have no idea what true wealth is. It's not about the things you own, or the labels on your clothes. It's about the person you are on the inside. And you, all of you, are dirt poor." He turned back to Clara, his fierce expression softening instantly. He gently wiped the rain from her face with the back of his hand. "Come on, my love. We don't need to be around people like this." He put the umbrella over her, sheltering her from the rain. As they walked back to the car, leaving behind the now silent, shamefaced women, Clara looked at her husband. He was her hero, her rock, and her home. The luxurious villa, the designer clothes, and the expensive cars suddenly meant nothing. The only thing that mattered was the warmth of his hand holding hers. The rain still fell, but under the umbrella, they were in a world of their own, a world where love and kindness were the only true currency.